Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. It is me, your managing editor for WrestlingInc.com, joined here today by our friend who seems to be sitting at some kind of beautiful Italian bistro. It's Paul Pratt, a.k.a. Pollo Del Mar. Paul, welcome back to the Daily.
Hey, it's a beautiful day in San Jose, California. I'm away from home for a little bit, but I definitely did not want to miss what is going to be a busy news day for us. At our new time, nonetheless.
At our new time, I appreciate that, Paul. I appreciate you making it happen. We do have a lot of news to get to here today. The chat room is open. I screwed up setting the time in StreamYard, but I got it right everywhere else on the site. So I know people are already flocking in here, but apologies about that. And I only bring that up because Gary Lyle noting it in our comments section. So, Gary, you're the first person brought onto the show here today. If you have any thoughts, jump in. We'll bring it up on screen. Before we get to the show here today, it is a lot to get to. Once again, Paul, as we were last week talking about Hacksaw to start the show, we have an update on Hacksaw. Just want to send our best out today. Hacksaw confirmed he is dealing with prostate cancer, which is a very aggressive form of cancer.
Yes.
And I once again just want to send my best out to Jim. Just a great guy and very unfortunate news.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this should be a reminder, our physical health should not be, and I'm not saying this is the case, but prostate cancer is something that a lot of men find in late stages because of the fact that they do not like that type of exam. So, I hope that people will take note of this and make sure that they take proper precautions to get tested.
Yes, I agree. Take care of yourself. Your prostate is important, everybody. And once again, Jim, just absolute best to you. Well, we have a lot of news to get to. After the news, we listened to an audio form, maybe the biggest interview of the week. The former Bronson Reed, now Jonah, in the house here today on the show. I did the interview with him yesterday, right after the Ring of Honor news broke that we're going to start off the show with here today. So you're going to get a raw take from Jonah here on the show. Of course, we're going to talk about NXT. We're going to talk about AEW, all that stuff too. Very, very good interview. And if you're watching us in video form, right after we're done here at 5:30 Eastern, we're going to premiere that over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. So you can check it out. Video form there, audio form here. And at the end of the show for everybody, we're going to dive in the mailbag. We're going to talk about Bray Wyatt. But without further ado, Paul, are you ready for some news you can use? News that'll leave a bruise?
Absolutely.
Ho! Says Bimcast in honor of Jim Duggan.
Absolutely.
So let's start with Ring of Honor, Paul. Yesterday, before we went live, we got the news about Ring of Honor releasing all of its wrestlers from their contracts. We know more about this situation now. So a couple reports, and then we'll dive into everything again. If you have any thoughts, comment section is a great place to leave them as I get into this here. So PWInsider.com, they're saying multiple wrestlers who were on Ring of Honor's company Zoom call yesterday were informed that if their contracts were expiring at the end of this year, they will not be reviewed. They will not be renewed. The wrestlers would then become free agents, and wrestlers who have contracts that go beyond January 1st are going to remain under contract for a certain period, maybe March or April of 2022. That'll lead right into Final Battle. So the Observer saying wrestlers are free to work anywhere they want immediately, despite the ROH contract status. No truth on the rumors on Sinclair canceling the ROH show. ROH is still scheduled to tape episodes of their weekly ROH TV series this weekend in Baltimore. And as noted before, the December 11th Final Battle pay-per-view also going to be happening at the UMBC Event Center in Baltimore. PW Insider saying Final Battle is very much going to be an end point chapter in Ring of Honor history because whatever they end up being after the hiatus will be a very different product. ROH still has a venue locked in for WrestleMania 38 weekend in Dallas next year, which would be announced Supercard of Honor event that was mentioned in their return hiatus. Regarding the future of the ROH TV series, it said it's going to be continuing on. It's going to be a mix of archive footage. The Observer throwing in ROH is going to now operate more as an independent company on the other side of this following Final Battle. And many talents, of course, have been talking about it on social media. The most notable, of course, Danhausen doing the AEW Cody Rhodes Ear Cup, getting a lot of people talking. The last thing on top of this, even as before we were going on the air, Sports Illustrated just reported about an hour ago, Ring of Honor's entire tape library is now available to the highest bidder, and I guess has been for about a year now. So, Paul, a lot of things there. Where do you want to start?
Well, as I tweeted this morning, because this escaped me yesterday, I was really, really busy and I didn't get to see this news yesterday breaking. But as I tweeted this morning, there's something to be said for a company that puts its talent first, its wrestlers first. They put their safety first. They did not do tapings through much of the early pandemic. They did not continue their broadcast schedule as they had, because they felt that was what was best for the health of the wrestlers. And then they also took care of their wrestlers and their talent in other ways by paying them throughout the time, even when they were not being used. So I want to give them major props for that, and definitely celebrate the fact that they took care of their talent at a time, especially when much, much larger companies were letting people go left and right. And the other thing that I was going to say is, no good deed goes without punishment, as they say, or whatever, because I firmly believe that a big part of this is kind of all of those incurred costs coming back now to haunt when things are starting to change on the other side of the pandemic.
Yeah, and I'm interested to find out more about exactly what happened here as time goes on, because it seems like this was a very sudden decision. And I talked to a lot of people at Ring of Honor, around Ring of Honor in the last 24 hours, and I'm hearing a lot of uncertainty. Like, not even people really close to the situation even really know what's going on. I'm talking to people, some of them very optimistic, some of them kind of like, this could be the end, which I know that's not the image they're trying to project right now, but that is, I would be remiss if I didn't say that's something that I heard from many people yesterday. How do you release everybody? I mean, you have nothing but 3 letters on the other side of this, right? You're going to, it's just like, I guess what Billy's trying to do at the NWA, but there's no infrastructure in place there. Something else that I think is interesting to think about is you talk about how there were much larger companies that were letting people go. In the grand scheme of things, Ring of Honor was part of a much larger company called Sinclair Broadcasting that is arguably bigger than WWE, has more money than Tony Khan's budget for AEW. Ring of Honor, just a little kind of speck in the grand scheme of what Sinclair Broadcasting was doing. And I brought it up yesterday. I'm continuing to try to go down the rabbit hole. I need to get a very good, smart friend on the phone with me to explain more of what's going on. But Sinclair is wrapped up in some kind of MLB streaming issue right now that is a much larger, multi-billion-dollar problem for their company. And I don't know that it is necessarily just the narrative that Ring of Honor spent too much money during the pandemic, made themselves a liability. Smart financial geniuses at Sinclair said, time to scrub the book. I don't think it's quite that simple. And that's the narrative that is really running wild right now.
Well, I mean, I read a lot. I read a significant amount about that particular thing. There was a New York Post article about that, and I read through it to have a better understanding. And basically, it's very plausible that Sinclair could be losing millions and millions of dollars depending on how that situation with MLB goes.
I read billions, man.
Right? I mean, it's very plausible, because I think that they own something like 13 teams or something of that nature. The rights to 13 teams, so of the 30, I believe, that are in the MLB. So, but to me, this is something I do not think that Ring of Honor became a liability. What I think, and the way I responded to that suggestion online, was very simple, that I think that the company as a whole was doing what was right, with the idea that they would be able to recoup those. They weren't planning on recouping those losses through Ring of Honor. They have a larger company that could do that could float that bill. You pull from one budget to cover the budget of another until things even out.
Sure.
But now that they're on the other side of this potentially really unexpected change of is going to reallocate a lot of funds, or potentially remove a lot of funds. So I think if this plays into that, that's what it is. I don't think it's because Ring of Honor became a liability. I don't think it's because of any of those things. I think it's simply because of the fact that they're going to start looking at places where, if we do not have all this money that's coming in from this MLB deal, where do we begin to cut corners?
Or have to pay a bunch of money for legal reasons, right? Because
that's a given. They're going, even if they want to keep that money, they're going to have legal battles on their hands.
Yeah, they got. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping by Monday, when I've had a chance to kind of settle my brain and look more into this, I'm going to have a really, really super smart take about this. But I just know that it's bigger than the real simple narrative I think that's being floated out there by a lot of people that is just, hey, they spent a lot of money during the pandemic trying to do the right thing, and look what happens when you try to do the right thing.
No.
I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't think that's the case, but at the same time, I don't think that no matter what is happening at this point, I don't think that negates the fact that they took care of people in a really challenging time. And furthermore, I think that it speaks to kind of it being a class act, if you will, even in these potentially final moments, that they are saying, hey, if you're under contract with us, you're still under contract with us. We're still paying you what we've contracted you to. Begin taking bookings immediately. We want you to hit the ground running. We're not trying to cripple you, until the last moment and hold on to you in the chance that something is going to change. I look at, and the reason that that's so important is because this is an entire company's roster that has which has now been released and is flooding the market. I look at it from a different perspective. A number of years ago, my mom worked for a mortgage company. And when the mortgage industry kind of collapsed, her entire company dissolved in one afternoon. She went into work. She thought she was going to leave for lunch, and she got an email saying, hey, you don't need to come back. We're bankrupt or whatever. But what that did is it released thousands of workers vying for a very small number of positions. And in the same capacity, we're seeing that with the releases from WWE and the releases now from Ring of Honor, where there are a lot of people and a lot of really great and diverse talent, but the opportunities aren't as many as there are talents because we've now removed an entire company from the program.
Well, and hopefully from the ashes rise Phoenix this year, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of very smart, creative people out there. I hope they can create new opportunities for themselves. I would like to take a moment here to talk about the tape library. Chris Stikelether here saying, my question with the tape library, with a lot of current AEW talent on those shows, if WWE purchased it, would they be free to show matches with ROH talent who are now in AEW? Of course, I'm sure referring to the Golden Era run 2 years there, where the Elite was kind of the big elephant, or not kind of, they were the big elephant for Ring of Honor. I don't know how much ROH adds in the grand scheme to WWE, but I think that you're onto something there with all the AEW talent. I think they add a lot to Tony Khan. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean, I think that Tony Khan would be the most likely person to be interested in this, because we know that Tony Khan is looking to build a library of, video footage and things similar to what the WWE network did and now is on Peacock. But because of the fact that they fully acknowledge people's Ring of Honor careers, they've mentioned Ring of Honor on air, they've talked about it. They revere, because so many of their talent come from there, where they were very successful, and they have no interest in erasing their history with Ring of Honor, unlike other places like WWE, which will veritably not acknowledge people's past before they showed up. This would be a great get for AEW because it showcases their talent. Not to mention, there's a lot of those people that would draw interest once mainstream audiences are like, oh my God, there was a Seth Rollins before there was a Seth Rollins.
Sure,
there was a Kevin Owens before there was a Kevin Owens. I had no idea.
Well, and you get full ownership of All In then too, which was a Ring of Honor produced entity. Mm-hmm. It really is your WrestleMania 1 in a lot of ways, like the unofficial one. So you get that. You get the years, the thousands of hours worth of content that you can lay on top of it, and with so much crossover with talent you have on your roster, you could reuse that. You could do watch-alongs like, hey, tune in now. The Young Bucks are going to watch back this match. Adam Cole's going to go back, watch this latter, match back.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff kind of feeds into each other. I think it makes a lot more sense for the play. But on the other side of this is we're talking about the tape library, and I know we got to move on to something here else eventually. But, we talk about how difficult it is to relaunch a company after you let all of the talent go. You really have maybe some rings in a warehouse, but really your only other tangible asset beyond that is the library. And if the library is sold off, how do you relaunch a Ring of Honor? I think this thing could be over before it starts. And that's why I think, unless the person who buys that library has an interest in keeping ROH alive, this is a very dark, realistically, a very dark moment for Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that, there's a great deal of optimism because, again, going back to the idea that this company supported these people during a really rough and difficult and scary time, but where other people were floundering, they did not have that same sense of insecurity. I'm sure that everybody in the Ring of Honor team, whether that from office to like ring crew, wants this to return. And there's so many fans who are like, for whom this is a beloved product. We want to think that that's a possibility, and we hope it is. But once you come to a screeching halt, any momentum is already broken. There's nothing, and it becomes an entire relaunch. I mean, look how challenging it has been for WWE to rebrand NXT, even though it's literally still broadcasting. It's been a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Last question here on this. Over under. What do you think? Is Danhausen on Dynamite tonight? You think he's on the show?
I wouldn't put it past him to have him on. I think that of all the talent that fits into the kind of like social media type buzzy feel that they love, he's certainly at the top of that.
Yeah.
And I think that wouldn't it be hilarious if creepy little Danhausen, who's basically the same, like 5 years older than Darby Allin, was Darby Allin's dad, like the creepy, creepy Danhausen.
I think they're brothers, right? I think Sting is Daddy Sting, right? Daddy Sting, and then you got the brothers. And I like that Danhausen is like the goofy inverse of Darby. Like, I'd never really thought about that until somebody brought it up recently, and I was like, I am kind of interested in what those two would be like together,
I mean, I also think that, I just look at, I'm always that person who's like, well, what's the lemonade in this lemon?
Right.
And, the lemonade in the lemon is that Ring of Honor had and has a tremendous roster of talent. And we're going to see them start to infiltrate other organizations more heavily. I mean, I just spent the weekend in Los Angeles where the Briscoe brothers won the GCW World Tag Team titles. So, I mean, we're going to see more of that. Jonathan Gresham was on that show. Other people are going to, we want to see more of. I think we will get to see more of because they are definitely being encouraged, and people are now, as sad as it sounds, like when a release comes along like this, all of a sudden interest in seeing people in your hometown goes up through the roof.
So, by the way, yeah, I misspoke. In my head, it was Friday. I meant to be thinking Rampage. Yeah, there's no way Danhausen's showing up on any AEW television tonight. There is no AEW television tonight.
I didn't want to burst your bubble.
It's fine. No, please call me out when I'm wrong.
I also was like, when you said it, I was like, did they move the schedule again?
No, and many people, and I apologize. It's been a very, very long day of news for me. So yeah, I apologize. But yeah, we'll see. Very interesting story. A lot of moving pieces here. But I want to move over to some WWE news here before we bounce over to Bronson Reed and then get into the mailbag very briefly. Surprising news out of WWE for their plans in the UK. They got a couple shows next month, and they're going to be headlined, or not headlined, but featured. They're going to feature a series of WWE NXT championship matches. Tommaso Ciampa, Braun Breaker, and Sami Zayn. They're going to do this match 3 times, it looks like, and Sami Zayn is going to have a chance to take that NXT championship away from Tommaso Ciampa. What do you think about them inserting Zayn into this? What do you think they're doing?
Is this becoming a triple threat?
It is. Yeah, these are UK
matches. Sami Zayn's in it to take the fall.
You think Sami Zayn's just there to take the fall for Ciampa?
That would be my guess. He's there to take the fall so that Braun and Tommaso don't have to do that. It also is very plausible that Braun Breaker ends up pinning Sami Zayn and becoming the NXT champion, which sets up for a rematch because he never defeated Ciampa.
I kind of feel like a title change over in the UK because they haven't been able to go to the UK in years. I mean, it's been 2 years now? Like, I'm getting the vibe too. Sammy's being inserted, and maybe Braun takes it. Maybe Sami pins Ciampa. I don't know. Like, I kind of see Sami as an easy layup, as like a Finn Balor type to kind of swoop in and be that veteran character down there from the main roster for a while.
Let me tell you, anything that's going to put a greater emphasis and spotlight on Sami Zayn and give him a better opportunity, I'm for. I think that I don't think there's a conspiracy against the guy, but I think that he's been I just don't think he's been developed to his full potential given everything we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and I think there's more to. Yeah, he definitely.
There's just much more there.
Yeah, there's definitely still some reinventing to do, and an NXT run to kind of cleanse the whatever conspiracy thing is going on right now to come back stronger. I'm very much in the same mindset as you right now. So I don't know.
I'd also love for him to come back not looking like he's homeless.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Take the note, Sammy. All right. Lastly here, this one got a lot of attention, Paul. So Fightful reported WWE has pulled Charlotte Flair from doing media. No word on if she's going to be pulled from doing all interviews or just a few. But as we've noted, there was a backstage confrontation between Flair and Becky Lynch on SmackDown after the title exchange. The tension in the ring reportedly led to words backstage. And so now they won't even let Charlotte come out and talk to the press at the moment.
So as you know, I was chiming in the chat room on Twitch when you guys were talking about this earlier in the week. And, people are like, is this a work? They think I do not think this is a work. The reason I don't think it's a work is because it's completely distracting from everything that they had in the works for the women's division. The planned feuds, the planned storylines have all taken second place to this real life drama. And this furthers that. And one of the things that I was saying to y'all in the chat is, people think, why would she be frustrated? What could she have to complain about? She's a 13-time champion or whatever. And I think that we often forget how influential a disgruntled partner can be when they are spending a lot of time with you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Andrade did not leave on good terms. He did not like his experience there. He did not like the way they were utilizing him. And I suspect that anything that would be considered, bad blood that he might have with WWE, it exists in their home life. So the negativity, she's going to pick up on that. And with him, whatever it could be, I think that she might have legitimately been pissed when audiences, and I think that she responded as if she was legitimately pissed when audiences were stepping on her, chanting Becky, Becky, Becky. I didn't think that was a friendly jab that she said, well, great, you want Becky, she's home with a baby. I didn't think that was a friendly jab. I thought that was like a knee-jerk response, and I can only imagine what Becky would have thought of it.
And here's the thing about Charlotte, and I can understand why in the inside you would be really upset with Charlotte, right? People would be very, very angry. But from an outsider looking in, I mean, this is one of the realest characters we've seen in the WWE in a long, long time. I mean, this kind of attitude, this kind of bravado was commonplace at the heights of WWE, and that's what made it so compelling. Was like you didn't really kind of know when the backstage stuff and the in-ring stuff was kind of blending together. And so I understand why they're very frustrated on the inside, but as somebody just like looking in, like
it's organic.
I'm really organic. Dude, I'm digging it. I'm kind of cheering her on,
Well,
yeah.
One of the things that I would point out that's different about that, during that attitude era, for example, that everybody's craving, and so many people are craving a return to, and whatever, there was that blending of reality. I've heard it called gray fabing, where you don't know where it is and isn't the end or beginning of a story. What is actual, what's not. And the thing about that is that was a time period in an era that organically happened, and WWE ran with it because they needed that. They needed that kind of organic momentum. And the unfortunate shift of WWE, especially during the COVID era and post-COVID, is that they want nothing organic. They want to control every audience reaction. They want to control every character interaction. They want to control everything because they had the ability to do exactly that to terrible effect, I might add, throughout the COVID era. And now as they're coming out of it, the last thing they want is anything to upset their apple cart. They planned this out, and this is throwing a wrench in the plan.
All right, Paul, I want to thank you for joining me at the Top Show Talk the News today. Thank you to Bronson Reed for joining me to talk all about the world of professional wrestling and, of course, those ROH roster cuts and his time in NXT. It was just a great talk. Go support him at Jonah is here. And as soon as his visa issues are figured out, Paul, we're going to see him back in action. That's right. We haven't seen him wrestle anywhere.
I'm so excited because when NXT finally pulled the trigger on him and made him the North American champion, I thought there was tremendous potential there. And I thought there was big things ahead for him. And, of all the names that got cut from NXT, he was definitely my number one head scratcher, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And, I want to see him back in action. I want to see him off the chain, but he legally cannot wrestle right now until he gets his visa issues worked out. So,
Absolutely. Same thing that we saw from basically the Iconics, the inspiration.
yeah, correct. Yeah. So hopefully here sooner than later, we'll see Jonah back in action. And also thank you for introducing me to my new favorite wrestling term, which is grayfabe. I've never heard that term, and I really, really like that term, Paul.
So somebody actually used that on me the other night. They said that they love the way I grayfabe on Twitter and on Twitch. And what the way that was described to me is that you talk in terms of things that you that present you as an insider in the industry. So people give you that credibility because they know that you have connections. They know you have an insight. They know you have like the inside track. But when it comes to very specific things, you toe the party line in terms of like the kayfabe element. So they never know which parts of it, like which threads are like actual truth and which parts are a story that's being fed to them.
You're the Brian Williams of the Wrestling Inc. Daily, Paul.
Wow.
It's a real deep journalistic cut right there for anybody. So the mailbag at WInc Daily, WINC Daily. That's the account to follow. I hate to tell you this, Paul. We did not make it to 1,666 followers, but we are at the spooky number of 1313 as we head into Halloween here. So,
oh my God, that's 1313 Mockingbird Lane. That's the address of the Munsters.
I'll take it. I love it.
Mockingbird Lane. We like it. It's so very Halloweeny.
That's my favorite number. It really is now, 1313. So
I didn't really want to conjure the devil anyway.
Hey, whatever. He's here because I'm here, right?
We need Danhausen. We need Danhausen to help with this. Danhausen could help us get to 1666 by Halloween. Halloween, by the way, y'all, is still 4 days away. I mean, like, or whatever it is, like 3 days away.
I want to make it clear.
Followers a day.
I want to make it clear. I've reached out to Danhausen for an interview in the last 48 hours because of all of the obvious reasons. I know he's very busy. I haven't got a response back. That's very unlike him, but it's out there. And maybe if some of you guys want to go out there and,
Nick,
Danhausen talk to me, that'd be great.
I need to point out the obvious to you yet again. It's Halloween. He's ghosted you.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess maybe a compliment.
Why not?
Maybe a compliment. Yeah, Dave in here saying Danhausen, big timing Nick. Sadly, it's true. It's true. So, all right. Real quickly, poll question. What do you hope Bray Wyatt resurrects himself as when he returns? Do you hope old school Bray Wyatt, the Fiend Bray Wyatt, or do you want something new? Over 300 votes, 58.4 something new, 20.8 old school Bray Wyatt, 19.5 the Fiend, and only 1.3 some other random write-in. What do you want to see Bray Wyatt do when he comes
When
back?
you said old school Bray Wyatt, you mean like follow the buzzards Bray Wyatt,
right? Yeah, the hat,
the cult leader. You know, I actually I think that if I had my choice, it would be an amalgamation of all those things. I think that he could play like a very schizophrenic character extremely well, where legitimately he slides in from one to another, and it makes it very, very creepy. I'm the thing that I'm most excited about is seeing somebody allow him to bring to actualization whatever it goes on in his head, because I'm under the belief that 90% of the things that we've seen from Bray Wyatt as a character probably come from Wyndham's head.
I agree. Yeah, I'm hoping for something a little different. He shared that kind of Japanese monster face a little while ago, and I really, really like that look. And I would love to see him lean into Kabuki really hard. We'll see. There was a really great video that Rage Bruh shared over on our Twitter in response called The Man in the Woods. It is a vignette that Bray did for WWE 6 years ago, almost to the day. Very, very creepy.
I think, like I said, I think that he is, when it comes to people in the world of wrestling, like everybody has something very different. Some people cut a great promo, or some people are phenomenal in the ring. Some people portray any kind of character with, kind of artistic flair. And I think that Bray is a significant combination of those things. He's compelling on an interview or a promo. He's sufficient in the ring. I don't think he's he's not Finn Balor, but he's very talented in that regard. But more than anything, the thing that I've always loved and connected with are character developments. And his characters are unparalleled.
Yeah, I agree. And Antonio Garcia agreeing with me. Yeah, Bring on Kabuki Bray versus Evil. And then also, I see all of the write-ins about Husky Harris, Husky Fiend. We also have Brian Bills here, Husky Harris. We're not going backwards, people. We're going forwards, going to the future.
Hello, he already like himself destroyed that character and made it like a pig, a puppet pig.
Yeah. Well,
Huskus.
all right.
Huskus the pig.
Yeah, he's dead. The puppets, I don't know if we'll get the puppets back, but we'll see.
I don't think we'll get the puppets back, but whatever.
All right, everybody. That brings us to the end of the show here today. Thank you so much, Paul. Tomorrow I'll be back. I'm going to be joined by Christy Olsen at the same time, same new time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow on the show, Myron Reed is going to be in the house. He's taking part in the AAW Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament this weekend. He's also at MLW. Check out WrestlingInc.com. That's the home of the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's supported on the socials. And at night after the big shows, come here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Paul, anything you want to put over?
Just a few things. First of all, yesterday was my buddy Marco's birthday, one half of the Money Power Respect tag team that I manage. So happy birthday to Marco. I also want to tell those who are watching, I just came from GCW over the weekend, November 28th. GCW launches LA Fights live on their YouTube channel. So put that on your calendar. It's the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And of course, follow me at twitch.tv/Pollo Del Mar. We watch wrestling multiple nights a week. So feel free to join us.
Awesome. That sounds great. Yes, and I just plugged it in the chat room too. My Bronson Reed interview is debuting right now. WrestlingInc.com or YouTube.WrestlingInc. Yeah, man. See, this is why I can't type and talk at the same time. Right. YouTube.com/WrestlingInc. That's the place to go to for the Bronson Reed interview. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.